Yeah, God sure changes his mind from the Old Testament to the New Testament. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty vengeful in the Old Testament.
I just want to address that. So I think that's a huge question a lot of people have. It's like, in the Old Testament.
What's up, my little fire starters?
What's up, guys? Welcome back to episode 31. Today we are reacting to Elon Musk allegedly accepting Christ into his heart. So that's what the title says. We're going to find out if that's true or not. But first, want to hear if we have any stories.
You go first, sir.
So, I don't remember when this was. It was over the past week, though. And it was sometime after my birthday. I was in bed. Liam knocks on my window at like midnight.
Liam is his brother, by the way.
Yeah. And so, then sometime later, I don't know, I was asleep. He goes in my room and he's like, Aiden, I need help. I'm like, what? He's like, the car's stuck. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I know that he's not going to leave until I like get up and help him. So I reluctantly get up and we take my dad's Jeep Wrangler to our Jeep Cherokee, which is our car that we share. We take the Wrangler to the Cherokee, which is stuck in the ditch on the side of the road in the snow. And
He got stuck in the snow?
Yeah, Liam got stuck in the snow.
How far from the house?
Like 100 feet.
Nice.
And so we get paracord and we loop it around like 3 times.
Paracord?
Yeah.
What?
No.
Finally can utilize
And I was praying
the survival bracelet.
Yeah, right. I was praying the whole time like, oh gosh, we're using paracord. Lord, you're going to have to help me get this car out or I'm never going back to sleep. And so what we did is he got in the Wrangler, I got in the Cherokee. I reversed it while he pulled forward because we tied the cars together, and the car came out like instantly. And I put my hands in and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you.
It must have just needed a little bit of help because I feel like that paracord would have ripped pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
And so, well, that's why we looped it around 3 times. You see.
3 times.
But, so yeah, then we drove those cars home and went back to bed. And
What time was it?
It was like 2:30
in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh dang.
I was about to ask why I didn't ask your dad, but
well,
I can understand.
Yeah.
I have a similar story.
Yeah.
I was able to pull my neighbor out of his own driveway with a winch. With my winch on the front of my Jeep that I've never been able to use before. So
Did it work?
It's pretty cool. It did.
The one with the pie tin on it.
Actually, it's the turkey tin
The turkey
that
tin.
I can cook my Thanksgiving turkey in.
He's got a tin over it, so it's waterproof, apparently. I got a quick story, too. I was skiing yesterday. It was great powder. One of the best powder days I've had because there's just no tracks anywhere. And on, I think, like run number 4, I hit a rock, kind of like do a small fall, nothing serious, but my ski just disappears. Like, all right, this shouldn't take too long. I'll find my ski and get back to my day. 2 hours later, I'm still looking for my ski. And it's really annoying because there's powder everywhere. People are just like laughing and screaming, have the best time around me, just skiing down this powder. And they're
so
just like digging holes with my pole, all soaking wet, just trying to
It's
find my
funny.
ski.
Me and Matthew were skiing that day as well, and we decided to come visit Luke and his endeavors. And we like get there, and there's a bunch of powder, and me and Matthew are like, "Sorry, Luke. Best of luck to you." And we ski
left.
away,
Yeah, so I end up
pooping
skiing
like dogs through the powder. We go.
So I end up skiing away with one ski down to the bottom. I have another pair of skis that are my friend's, Dawson, in the car. So I'm like, all right, I'll just keep skiing with these. And the DINs on those is like the setting on how strong it is, when it ejects you are very low. So I couldn't really ski in them because they kept ejecting me when I hit stuff.
Dawson is a very conservative skier. He likes taking it slow and steady.
So those skis didn't work out. So then just went home. And then today,
And then actually that day,
at home, yeah,
he
I saw a
called-
video
yeah, he
on my
has-
GoPro. I could see the ski going away in the footage, and I kind of saw which direction and where it went. So I'm like, oh no, now I know where it is. So I called Jonah, see if you can go get it. You can continue from there.
So I was on the chairlift with Matthew. We were on our last run, and Luke's like, "I'll pay you $50 if you find my skis." So me and Matthew were like, "Absolutely." So we ski down there to this place called Rock Island.
Definitely lived up to its name.
Pleasant place. And we find the spot like on the GoPro exactly. And if we had looked for probably maybe 5 minutes, I don't know if we would have found it or not. But the ski patrol like shows up like right as we get there. The ski patrol sweep is coming through, and he's like, "Yep, we gotta go. Mountain's closed." And me and Matthew are like, sorry, Luke," and we skied away. And at that point, the snow was also like really hard too.
Yeah.
Packed.
And so I went back today, and like the whole time I was looking, I was praying. I'm like, God, why can't you just show me my skis? Like, how hard could that be? Or like, why are you not doing it? So I was kind of questioning that the whole time. And then, so I went back today. I brought a shovel as well.
I still don't know if he found him or not. We're about to find out.
I dug a hole for a while. The shovel broke.
Your avalanche shovel?
Yeah, it just snapped in half.
Oh my gosh.
So that pissed me off. And then I was just looking, and I look at the footage. I'm like, they probably wouldn't go very deep. They probably just slid down to this tree. I look over, and you can see a tiny little shimmer in the tree.
Oh my gosh.
And I grab them, and there's like an inch of powder covering them, and pull them out, and there are my skis. So
Nice. Well,
just so you know, when
did
me
find
and
it.
Matthew got there yesterday, that place looked like 1945 fields in Germany. Like that
I
place-
dug holes everywhere, bro.
There's holes everywhere. So
ended up being right next to me in the tree.
He's looking in the trenches.
So if you guys are looking in the world for things to fulfill you, to find that thing you need, just look right next to you. God's right next to you all the time. He's not somewhere far off or deep. You just gotta look right next to you.
that's deep and emotional.
No, that's
Beautiful segue.
It's actually a very good what's the word?
Example or
No.
Analogy?
Analogy. It's a very
analogy.
good analogy. But yeah, I mean, I had a similar thing with getting up to help Liam, because sometimes we're really reluctant to turn to the Bible or turn to anything biblically related for help,
Mhm.
and we turn to things of the world instead. But
Or like thinking, I think Jesus would get up and help out his buddy.
yeah, exactly.
That's fine.
And that's exactly what I did when I got him. Like, you know what? This is what Jesus would do. And then as soon as you do that, there's payoff, The
Yeah.
payoff was helping Liam, and I got
Got a cool
my
story
first
out of it.
hug from him in a while. So
Nice.
yeah, that was pretty nice.
I want to show the viewers your beautiful shirt as well.
Oh yeah, I should probably stand up.
Look at
For
that.
all the
beauty.
audio listeners, it says Jesus saves and Jesus is
And
being a
it's-
goalie.
Jesus is the absolute best goalie in soccer. Just swatting that ball away.
Nice. All right. Well, let's segue into apparently there's a video going around, a podcast that Elon Musk was on that says he just talks about Jesus and Christ, which is pretty exciting. So we'll get into that in a second. But what are y'all opinions on Elon
Jesus
Musk just
and-
right off the bat?
Jesus and Christ.
Jesus and the Bible. I
The
don't
two
know.
of them.
I think Elon doesn't pay enough taxes, and I hate him, and he's too rich. And
No, I think Elon is very, very smart, and he is obviously very rich. I think he's the
Very rich.
very rich. He's the richest person now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paying the most amount of taxes. Just to clarify that.
He had an 11
$11.6 billion tax bill. Yeah, something like that.
Is absolutely sad. I pay like $11.06.
No, Elon Musk has a crazy story growing up. Like, he came from nothing. Like, he used to be punched in the
South
face when he was
Africa,
little,
yeah.
beat up.
Yeah, if you look at the 90s, you can tell like his hair just came back. That's how cool he is. Like his hairline was receding. He had like the bald spot that went like around the top of his head, and then like I don't know, his hair just came back.
Or he's an atomic, and they just kill him, and he just
maybe he was using Keeps, today's sponsor.
I'm just kidding.
All right, so I guess we all kind of admire Elon for certain things because he's a pretty crazy
he's
guy.
really wealthy, and he made eBay, PayPal.
Not
Yeah.
eBay. eBay bought PayPal,
Oh,
but
eBay.
he made PayPal.
Sorry.
The Boring
help-
Company,
Yep.
He makes
SpaceX, Tesla.
flamethrowers.
Yeah.
So here's his thoughts on some Christian stuff, which is going to be interesting to listen to.
And I read like a whole bunch of religious books, including the Bible, and I'm like, there's a bunch of things in there they didn't teach you in Sunday school. Sodom and Gomorrah, dark. Yikes. God sure changes his mind from the Old Testament to the New Testament. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty vengeful in the Old Testament.
I just want to address that. So I think that's a huge question a lot of people have is like,
For sure.
in the Old Testament, we're reading in the Bible, and God is literally destroying people. The earth opens up, swallowing people. Like
Yeah, he's like the flood too. Would probably
Yeah, the
be
flood.
big example. He literally wipes all of humanity off the face of the earth.
kills every firstborn from the Egyptians.
Yep.
So
And I mean, Moses hit a rock one time's too many. He's like, oh, the rest of your life is not going to be nice. You're not going to the promised land.
Yeah, so, well, it probably was nicer than the promised land where we went to, but,
That's
anyways. I can see how people see that because in the New Testament, Jesus is like this all-forgiving, super loving.
You're blind? Let me
Forgive.
spit in the dirt and rub it in your eye, and then you can see.
So it seems like a huge contrast. So I just want to address the Old Testament God because, as you'll see, God doesn't change, but like from our perspective right now, it seems like it's a really different contrast. But I'll start explaining this. So, does God give reasons for judging people in the Old Testament? Yeah, because
Every single time.
okay, so just an example, the Canaanites, who are these people that God told the Israelites to absolutely wipe out,
Eradicate.
They're called the Canaanites, and they had just one example of their sinfulness was they had an idol named Molech, and they would literally, it was a metal idol, they would heat it up super hot. They would take babies and put it in its arms and literally just have the babies sizzle to death as sacrifices. And there's a Greek writer named Plutarch who writes about this, and it says the drummers had to play so loud on their drums so the parents wouldn't hear the babies screaming. And so this went on for many years before God finally said, okay, enough is enough. I've tried to have you guys repent enough, and now it's just over. So that's one. I'd say that's a pretty good example of God punishing evil, because now people are like, well, if God is so loving, then why doesn't he stop bad things? Well, in the Old Testament, he did it pretty,
Aggressively.
obviously.
Yeah.
And so
Sodom and Gomorrah as well.
you can't complain that why doesn't God stop things if they're evil when he does? And now it's just harder to see, which we'll get into in a second here. But why does God tell Israel to annihilate them? And so this is another thing. A few people have theories that when God in the Bible says annihilate, or when the Bible says annihilate, back in the day they used a lot of, like, I guess, hyperbolic language. So it'd almost be like me saying to another sports team, like, we annihilated you, not referring that they're all dead and non-existent now, but that we just kind of destroyed them.
Scattered a soccer field.
And the reason why is because in the Bible it says, annihilate these people and then don't intermarry with them. I'm like, well, if we totally killed all of them and destroyed everyone, there's no one to intermarry with. So that's kind of where that theory comes from. But regardless, even if God did have them wipe out women, children, their dog, just everything.
He did that with the were those the Canaanites? No, I don't think they were. The one that Saul had to the people Saul had to kill. What were those people? I'll find it.
Okay. And then when God kills people, he's not murdering them, because God is God, and pretty much when someone dies, they do die in the physical, but they just go to a different place. But God's the perfect judge, so he knows where they really go. So it doesn't mean when God kills someone that they're going necessarily straight to hell, because he's a perfect judge. He knows where they're going. So that's kind of a fact you have to think into. Like, God has the right to usher people into the next life, whether they're 2 years old or 82 years old. And then the last point is the Old Testament was uniquely temporary, because pretty much what I think of the Old Testament is like God showing humans that even if they have the perfect law that he lays out for them, and even though he forgives them repeatedly, which we see in the Old Testament all the time, pretty much the entire Old Testament is mostly the Israelites rebelling against God, God forgiving them, God gets angry first and something happens, but then he always forgives.
It's a perfect example right here. So the people group I was talking about is the Amalekites. I don't know if they did anything as severe as the Canaanites, but I imagine it being worse because God told them to kill the men, women, children, and the livestock of these people. So Saul had to completely wipe the Amalekites off the face of the earth. And like Luke is talking about, he gets angry first, and he sends Samuel over, and Samuel's like, all right, bro, you're not going to be king anymore. So, yeah.
Nice. So here's another kind of story the Bible portrays on the Old Testament God in a way. So there's a prophet named Hosea, and God told Hosea, just for a little background, go marry this prostitute and love her. And so he does. The Lord said to me, go show your love to your wife again, though she is loved by another man and she is adulteress. and she is an adulteress. Love her as the Lord loves the Israelites, though they turn to other gods and love the sacred raisin cakes.
What?
So pretty much the story is, this is just part of it, but he's married to this prostitute, and she keeps cheating on him, and it's breaking his heart. He's going to God like, why are you making me do this? And I feel sorry for prophets back then, but God's really like, I'm using you as an example to show that that's how the Israelites are with me. I love them. They break my heart. Even though they go and, worship other gods, pretty much the equivalent of your wife cheating on you, you still love them.
It's like simping.
Yeah. So
Bro,
I
this guy
thought that was
probably
pretty cool.
became like the first gym bro ever. Takes his pain out on like heavy rocks or something.
So that's the Old Testament God. He always has reasons to why he's punishing, and he always forgives. And Jesus didn't come to give us grace to the level that people had in the Old Testament. So now we go to the New Testament, Jesus. And John 3:17 essentially says, "For I have come to save the world, not to condemn it." So he's saying, I'm here to save you guys, not to judge you, not to, kill you instantly because you're sinners. And we live in a time now where we're in a period of grace. Jesus has come down. He's given us the option, God or the world. And we have the option to decide. And God's grace is upon, partially everything right now. He doesn't judge like he did in the Old Testament because Jesus is here to save us if we choose to. But the Old Testament comes back in what book? Revelation. And that's when, I guess, the time runs out to decide, and it goes back to the Old Testament ways. And if you're sinful, and if you don't choose God, he has justice and the punishment.
In Psalm 37:13, it says, "But the Lord laughs, seeing that their day is coming." So he's laughing at all these evil people.
I think it was in the CJB. It said like the Lord laughs at the wicked, for he knows their day is to come.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's not like he's given those people the option to choose him, and they've very clearly not chosen to. And so he's just, I guess, yeah, cool.
Final question to close our time out here.
Yeah, I mean, we're here. We're, the Babylon Bee is a Christian organization, and we're a ministry.
Well, how come we're doing the show on a Sunday? Why aren't you heathens in church?
Exactly. So we have to make it church
This is
right
supposed
now.
to be a day of rest.
We did Zoom church.
To
Do you have
justify
any idea, like God said, don't work on Sundays. Okay. Guys are going straight down for this one.
get into the whole Jesus rest thing. Okay.
So
I've
Aiden,
never heard
I had you
Elon
do
laugh
some.
before.
First off, I want to say how legendary it is to have this guy on their podcast talking about this stuff. That's kind of the most legendary thing I've seen in a while. But I had Aiden research, because this is Sunday as well, and I don't think we can technically call this working, but a lot of Christians will work on Sunday, and some people are like, well, the pastor's technically working on Sundays, isn't that not allowed?
Like the heathen Lewis and Robbie, they're at paradise right now.
Working. Well, yeah, I mean, for those of you who don't know, the Babylon Bee is like a satirical news source, so they make a lot of fake news articles, but they're Christian and they're right wing, so a lot of their stuff mocks non-Christian, non-right wing views, and I think it's actually really funny. But so.
And they also just have like a bunch of like really inaccurate facts.
Exactly. That's the funniest part.
Well, it's like a joke.
Yeah,
most of
exactly.
it, yeah.
It's just a joke.
But yeah, I love Elon Musk for this, like saying, it's like, why aren't you heathens at church? Because that's exactly like how we mock our friends. Or it's like, why are you not at church? So in Exodus, it says to set apart a day for God. And in the Jewish Bible or the Torah, it'll say Shabbat. No, in Exodus. And
My bad.
Well, in Genesis, it talks about God actually resting.
yeah.
Oh God.
But in Exodus, it says, you will set apart a day, Sabbath or Shabbat, for God. And so that's the closest answer that I could get in the Bible for why Christians shouldn't work on Sundays or whether we should or not. And I believe we shouldn't. But the thing is, different sects of Christianity like, I think there's one Church of Christ or something. A lot celebrate Sabbath on Saturdays instead of Sundays, and then Jewish people celebrate Shabbat on Fridays. So,
yeah, I mean, like Aiden's saying, is like God made the Sabbath not for him, and so he can be honored and praised and feel good about himself. He made it for us so we can take rest and soak in him, or like come to understand him more, and not be, because we're so busy in today's world where we're just running around, we're doing all this work, and that's not what God wants for us. I mean, it does. He says to be busy, but he also wants us to rest in him and just be, not super busy for a day of the week.
We are not of the world, we're not worldly beings, us as Christians. And so,
well, we're in the world, but we're not of it.
Like So society wants us to stay in the fringe, that is constantly being busy, or
because that distracts us from God.
Yep. And so we as workers don't really most of the time don't get to choose whether we work on Sundays or not,
So I don't think it matters what day you choose out of the week, but just take time on whatever day of the week you want. It doesn't have to be Sunday. That doesn't necessarily, like, the reason we do it on Sundays is because Jesus was risen from the dead on Shabbat, and that's why the Jews do it, and that's why Mass started and all that. But it doesn't matter what day you do it on. Just take a day, rest, and read your Bible, pray to God, whatever you do to be with Jesus, do that. And I think that's the end of that. So, Elon.
So, wait, actually, it's not the end.
We're not going to hell if you work on Sundays.
I'd like to give my opinion on this. All right. So, farmers have fields, right? That's the point of farmers.
Facts.
Every 6 years,
No.
on the 7th year, they let their fields rest for one whole year.
Nice.
Because what the crops do is, for 6 years, if they just continue growing these crops, the soil runs out of nutrients, and then the crops get bad. And I don't know exactly what happens. I'm not a farmer, but anyway, you have to let your fields rest at a certain point for the nutrients and the other things to come back so that your crops can grow again. And I think us humans are, in a very sense, super similar to that.
Except instead of years, it's days.
Except instead of years, it's days. We have a faster regeneration time. Take that, fields, you guys. Okay, never mind.
Trying to roast Earth.
trying to roast the Earth. So basically, I used to work at Paradise a lot, and there was this one week where I worked 8 days in a row.
That's more than 1 week, actually.
So there was a week and a day. Anyway, so I started workout that week, super energetic, super friendly with customers and everything. And slowly, as that week went on, when I got to the 8th day, you did not want to be around me. I was so pissed off. Just first of all, because my manager had put me on schedules and people kept asking me to cover their shifts, and I was like, yeah, fine, whatever. I did get a lot of money though for that. But I would my nerves were gone. I was I wouldn't let myself work at the cash register anymore, because I'd probably reach across and slap some Aspen mom across the face for how stupid they are. But you just need that day to rest and reset and let the nerves come back and not do anything. If you work nonstop and stuff like that, you're just not as efficient anymore. You decrease decrease peak efficiency. And it's the same thing with studying as well.
I love how literally the Israelites took this, and literally they weren't allowed to feed their animals. So the day before, they'd have to prepare all this stuff so their animals would be fed and all this, and they wouldn't have to work at all. So they took it to the max, and the biggest definition of chill is given.
Ishmael, you got up from your chair!
No, and I mean, I actually love the farm analogy, because this is a bit unrelated, but it has to do with livestock, right?
Yeah.
In Ezekiel, God says that we are his sheep, and I love that. I know the word analogy because we don't have to listen to other sheep of the livestock, right? We're not made in God's image just to listen to other human beings or other beings of earth. And we're made to listen to the one shepherd, the one true shepherd, which is Jesus. So, yeah.
Yeah, bro. The sheep around you will bleed away. They'll be like, "Oh, grass is green over here." But in reality, you just got to listen to the shepherd.
Yeah,
shepherd
and he
will
also
give you
says,
the green grass.
He also says in, also in Ezekiel that us as sheep will become prey to other animals, which is very relevant
Like
in today's
wolves,
culture.
yeah.
Yep. And we have to be able to tell the difference between sheepdogs and wolves, which doesn't say that in the Bible, but that's the way I like to think of it, because there are sheepdogs that we
No, it does say in the Bible. There's like wolves in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. But when I say sheepdogs, I mean like,
Yeah, like
the ones that
herders.
herd you,
retriever
like-
breeds
Yeah,
that will
yeah.
like herd sheep, you know? And so we as Christians have to be able to tell the difference between sheepdogs and wolves, because sheepdogs will be like parents or role models
Mhm.
that we know will get us closer to
the
the one true shepherd. But wolves can look a lot like sheepdogs,
Bro, that's lit.
and we'll end up eating them.
That's dope.
I just made that up on the spot.
That's pretty fire. All right, let's.
my farm up analogy on the spot too.
I made up my ski analogy on the spot. All right, we're gonna finish to Elon.
Straight hell.
This is church. This is church. So to make this church, we have to make sure. We're wondering if you could do us a quick, solid.
Imagine how nervous you'd be in this moment. Talk to Elon Musk about Jesus. Be like,
Elon just laughed at me. Also, our quality of podcast is better than yours. Sorry, Babylonian B.
And accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior.
on the
Real quick.
show.
Personal Lord and Savior. It's a quick prayer.
I mean, let's just say, like, I agree with the principles that Jesus advocated, and that there's great wisdom in the teachings of Jesus, and I agree with those teachings. And things like turn the other cheek are very important, because as opposed to an eye for an eye leaves everyone blind. So forgiveness, is important, and treating people as you would wish to be treated. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Very important.
So it's like a 60-70%.
As-
yes.
As Einstein would say, I believe in the God of Spinoza.
So I just want to pause real quick. So I love how he phrased it to Elon Musk. He's like, "You want to do us a quick solid?" Like, that's not really how that works. This is like a huge life-changing thing.
Do me a huge favor, just a small little favor. Will you accept Christ?
But like watching the whole episode, like whole podcast there's like an hour long that they did, an hour and 30 minutes. It's like a lot of it was jokes and stuff, so it kind of makes sense in that way. But just so all the viewers know, it's not just a quick thing you do just to have it over with. Once you really accept that, then your life goes in a different direction.
There's no turning back.
But I love seeing Elon. You can obviously tell that in his past he's had biblical influence, and I think he talks about going to Bible school and stuff, and he knows a lot of the stories. But I think he stopped, and like, because I've had all the questions he's asking, but they've all been answered, and so he just stopped pursuing Jesus. And well, now we're answering for you, Elon.
Elon,
so.
come back.
But he said he believes in the what God, the
Spinoza's.
Oh yeah.
So generally, you want to talk about that, because I don't really know what that
I
is.
did a little bit of research on Spinoza. This dude's first name is Baruch Spinoza, the guy that invented.
Like Baruch atah Adonai.
You always know when it's true when a dude invented whatever we're talking about.
I mean, so the reason they call it Spinoza's God is because it's what this Baruch dude believed in. He lived in 1677, and he was excommunicated from his community for the things he thought. But he basically wrote a series of 5 books called The Ethics, and part 1 is called Of God. He was very confusing in the way he wrote. So like people don't like really know what kind of person like what he believed in. Some people say he was an atheist. Most people say he was he was a pantheism or a pantheist. Pantheism, the word pan is all, and theism is God. So the belief of pantheism is everything is God. So all God. So everything is God. As I said.
Yeah, just a little small tangent. There's an idea of something called a pantheon, which is just the existence of every god that's believed in, like in all cultures,
That is that sounds like chaotic religion.
Yeah.
But basically, he believed in like substance. So everything is God, and there's one substance everywhere. So God is substance. It's really confusing.
We should have him on the podcast.
You know, we should.
I think he might. That might be a little difficult.
he might be. He might
hard
be a
to
little.
reach.
He might be a little
We
old
need,
now.
we need Saul's witch to.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking to bring him back. But substance is like, so everything is God. And people like Albert Einstein also agreed with it, and Elon Musk, they also agree with it. He says it right here. And I think the reason they do is because they're so smart. I feel like you almost have like a certain IQ level to understand.
Well, yeah, no, I mean that makes sense, but it sounds like it's more of a materialist version of Christianity, you know?
Because to make yourself God as well, wouldn't it?
Well, no, it just sounds
You're
like
part of God.
this God is the God of everything substantial, everything material and physical that is.
Mhm.
No,
like,
that's
in
the
the world.
thing. Like he thinks that there's
And if these people are scientists, it would only make sense that they're materialists, right?
no,
That's what I-
like they don't. Spinoza didn't believe in a personal God. He completely ruled that out. It was just God. He wasn't personal with anyone. He didn't talk to anyone. He was just God. And so what also happens when you believe that is that you have to deny miracles completely. And I think everyone has experienced a miracle in one way or the other, big or small. But you have to deny miracles completely because once God is nature, because God is everything, nature can't go against itself. It can't disobey its own rules. So there is no miracles.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nothing supernatural can happen in a sense.
exactly. So it's kind of confusing, but I
We
guess
don't believe in what he
we don't
said
believe
there.
in.
Okay.
But I guess Elon does, and so did Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein loved the guy, because he he wrote the worst, cringiest poem ever about Spinoza. It was
a little
it was
crush on him.
awful for how smart Albert Einstein is. No, he literally was like, Spinoza is a beautiful, awesome person. It was hard to read. But yeah, I think the people like the reason people believe this is because they're so smart. Like I said, I feel like you have to have a certain IQ and imagination, and obviously Elon and I guess also Albert Einstein had that.
Well, when you're so smart and see the complexity in nature and just in space and like all the stuff, all like the microscopic stuff they work with, you got to see some sort of not randomness, but some sort of design. So I think it'd be hard to not admit that there's a creator.
Yeah, a lot of scientists will admit that there's pattern in nature, you know?
No, like Fibonacci's code. Like
Yeah, exactly.
for me, like that's one of like the most solidifying pieces of evidence as to like how there is a God. There's no way there's like just some random chance.
Yeah, like
this
I
happened.
can't just say this microphone made itself eventually because
this
it
microphone,
figured out what
the
worked and what
chemicals
didn't.
came together. You know, you go past a building. You don't know who the architect was or like the builder. You don't know who built the building, but you know someone did.
Yeah.
And the way my mom said it is that human biology is too perfect for there not to be a God.
There's absolutely no way. It was random chance. So.
Nice. Let's continue. I love the music in the
So,
back.
Sentimental.
Lost Elon.
but hey, if Jesus is saving people, I mean, I wouldn't stand in his way. You know, like I'll be sure, I'll be saved. Why not?
Sweet, we did it.
Yeah.
I think he just said yes.
We got him.
All right.
We got him.
We got to be saved. Sounds good.
You want to get back?
So
It's probably what it felt like when Matthew convinced Wolfgang to come to church.
I'm not sure what we should say on this, but I think God knows Elon's heart.
God knows Elon's.
And you know, when you say, yeah, sure, I'll accept Jesus. You know, I question if that's really heartfelt,
He sounds
true
a bit
change.
pressured into it.
But you know, I think he's not against Jesus. So I think if you doubt what he said, just keep praying for Elon. I think that's the only and best thing we can do.
And I mean, as satirical as this may be, he sounds like he's heavily considering it.
Yeah.
You know, truly accepting Christ. So anyone who knows, like, if we can reach Elon somehow, like, all he needs is a little bit
Share copy link this video so we can reach Elon Musk.
No, all we need is like that Jeep Wrangler of faith and that paracord of triumph.
Paracord.
Yeah, we need the Jeep Wrangler of faith and the paracord of triumph, and we can pull him to the good side.
I feel like people like Elon. I don't know what his IQ is, but he probably needs like a couple days to process that.
No, people like
To make
Elon
that, like,
need to really
jump that
dive and
full
see. I
commitment,
think this is
yeah.
for everyone. We can't tell people enough for them to believe. They got to look for themselves. So because no matter how much some person texts you and be like, "Oh, this thing is so great. This thing is so great," you have to be there. You have to sit on that roller coaster that they're talking about to really feel how great it is.
Dude, the powder today is so nice.
Yeah.
You gotta ski through it yourself.
So it's not quite done. I think he has a few more questions here.
Baptized or anything real quick?
I was baptized.
Oh, okay.
Anglican, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's done.
They dunked me in the water when I was just a baby. Cool. This is like,
Second?
yeah. I even had like, you know, whatever blood and body of Christ, which was kind of weird, you know, if you're a little kid, like you get to give you some weird tasting, you know, biscuit and wine. Yeah. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, isn't this kind of
Just cut it off when he said yes.
I'm like, isn't this some like
Fading.
weird metaphor for cannibalism or something? I don't get it. Like, what the hell? I remember thinking that was just crazy when I was a kid. And I'm like, like, whoa, you know? I mean, even as a metaphor, it's kind of odd, you know?
Yeah,
So, it is. It's like,
I hate how he's asking these
alcohol.
questions, but they're not answering him for him. They just keep listening.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, that was funny.
Like, there's
Elon.
such an obvious answer to that question.
Minors, I was like,
We do grape juice. We're Baptists.
okay.
Yes.
I think it's unusual to even be thinking about that as a kid. Like as a kid, you just go through the motions, and then it's
Right.
later on that you think, wait a minute,
Yeah,
what
this
does
is
this
weird.
actually represent? What am I doing?
No, when I was a kid, I was like, is this actually blood and body? What?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if I want
Catholic.
to eat somebody. And then I was like, what? This is, and I never did it anyway. I'm like, this seems like, okay, man, I don't know if this is just pretty odd, you know? I remember thinking that even at age 5. So I was like, you know.
That just proves
And I was definitely like, you know, at Sunday school there, like, when they were telling me all the stories, and I was like asking questions, and like, and they really were upset that I was asking questions. And I was like, you know, how did Jesus like fed the crowd with like 5 loaves of bread and 3 fish? And I'm like, how big was the crowd? And like, where did the fish and bread come from? Did like from his cloak or something? Like, because I was like reading books, and I was like, is this like
Are they gonna answer his
did it
question?
materialize? Kind of like, I don't know. Where did it come from? You know, like how did it? Would you like take a bite of the bread and would the bread would just come back to being a full bread?
Yeah, you look away and it's
This is the
kind of pops
mechanics of
back
it.
out. Rubbermaid.
They left out the details.
Where did the universe come from?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm not saying I know all the answers here. I'm just, you know, it's just and like Jesus was obviously very pro alcohol. You know, because one of his miracles was turning water into wine.
Yeah.
And then there was like they were having a party. They ran out of wine. Okay. And they're like, let's keep this bender going.
Good stuff.
Who can solve this problem?
We're out of White Claws.
The friggin' store's closed. And Jesus is like, I gotcha. Okay. Water, now wine. And they're like, party on. You know? So, you know,
Accurate.
pro
recreation.
partying with alcohol is literally it was a miracle.
Bible story.
I think it's cool that he knows that story because I remember we talked about that at Young Life at Winter Weekend. He talked about the story where Jesus is literally the life of the party. A lot of people, including myself, like earlier in life, thought that Jesus was like this fun killer, you know?
Yeah.
'Cause the way
Bible warrior.
yeah, that's exactly. I think of Jonah saying like being a like fun-hating Bible warrior, you know?
Yeah.
But Jesus was really the life of the party, and so
Not always. He did flip some tables sometimes.
well, that adds some life to the party,
That's
does it
true.
not? I mean, and so
Entertainment
he
value.
took these barrels of, I like to call it foot water because
It literally was.
it's the water that people
Used
that
to wash
would
their feet,
come-
yeah.
they would wash their bodies with it, and then it would just go back.
No,
into
their
the
feet,
barrel.
not their bodies.
they're
It's too dirty for their bodies.
okay, you know what?
Well, they would
And-
wash their hair in it too.
Oh, they would?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Okay, and here's the other thing about this nasty foot water. Let's make it even nastier. Me and you, right? We got sneakers on, we got socks. So when you wash your feet, they're already pretty dirty. These people were walking around at best with some sandals, bro. Some
In the
flip
dirt.
flops in the dust.
Yeah, the dirt, the sand, whatever.
You got oxen pooping on the road, you know,
Yep.
stepping some ox poop.
These people walk for
accidentally.
miles.
Yep.
No cars.
from afar. So these people had some dirty feet. It probably looked more like some Nesquik by the time they were through with it in those jars. And then Jesus was like, cow,
Like-
and he makes the ugly into beautiful.
You know, as much as I trust Jesus, I still wouldn't drink the wine, even if it was made from foot water.
And, I just want to clarify the story. Jesus didn't get up and was like, "Yeah, I'll turn it into wine." He was like, his mom was like, "Oh, Jesus can do that."
Yeah, his
and he's
mom
like, "Mom,
literally
it's
begged
not
him.
my time yet."
No, I don't. Does Mary even say like?
Yeah, she did. She almost begged him.
Oh.
Yeah, like Jesus was like, "Fine," and then she's like, she told the servants
Fine,
like,
mom, shut up. He just made it into water and water.
"No, Jesus was perfect, so I didn't say that."
He did not say that.
And then just to answer Elon's other questions real quick, when he's talking about the bread and the wine at church, communion is what he's talking about. And the only reason we do that, it's not, the Catholics do believe it's, or I'm not sure if they still believe this, but it was actual flesh and actual blood.
Yeah, as it entered your mouth.
Yeah. And I can see how that turns
Very
into Calvinism and
materialized.
very confusing for Elon. But
And that's actually why Nana left the Catholic Church. She would ask questions like that, and they were like, "All right, bro, you're done. Goodbye."
but pretty much all it is symbolism that we remember Jesus breaking his body for us when we eat the bread and him shedding his blood for us when we drink the wine. And it's pretty much just a reminder of what he did for us. Because I think a lot of times we forget the huge, amazing sacrifice he did for us.
Mhm.
And then the other thing he talked about was,
You know, actually, it's kind of funny. Elon talks about like he was eating the body and stuff. I never found that weird as a kid. The only thing I looked forward to in church was communion. I was hungry, so I'd always I would always look for the biggest chunk. Maybe
no.
take
My-
one or two.
My church in Connecticut, I kind of see myself in Elon just in the sense that when we were like 5 years old, for example, Sunday school was never appealing. The stories never made sense, or we just didn't listen. You know, it sounded like he did listen, but it never made sense to him. I never listened, so I had to study stories from the Bible like now and later in life. But like communion to me, they had these little the little white crackers,
Yeah.
and it wasn't even like the bread from the Bible where they don't have yeast in it, so it doesn't rise. You know, it was just paper.
Nah, like I know exactly what you mean. Some like even now today I get disappointed. We'll go to like some away church and they serve you some dog food. It looks like it's just like a kibble. Actually, in Bible study, I kind of like Bible study at Sunday school. Because at home we'd always be watching these Bible movies. Mom would always make us watch them, and so the teacher was like, "So guys, can you guess what happens next?" And I'd be like, "I know this," and then everyone would be like, "What?"
yeah, me and Jenna were legends at Bible school.
Yeah, we were pretty good at that.
But yeah, I mean, I see myself in Elon in the sense, like I already said that, but I see myself in Elon in the sense that I didn't listen to anything at Sunday school, and when he did listen, he was reluctant to believe these crazy stories, right?
Yeah.
Which makes sense because he grew up to be like a scientist, and
He questioned everything.
yeah,
From
s-
most smart
He has the
people,
knowledge
sorry.
of the Bible from, a kid going to Bible school. I'm just assuming this from how he's talking.
yeah,
But he's got the earthly scientific knowledge to like a very high amount. And when you put those things together, it's really hard to mix because you kind of have to grow those at the same time. Or while you're really smart, go back and look at it again and it'll make a lot more sense. It's
Well, it also like to me, it sounds like he didn't have a great Sunday school teacher.
Yeah, if you can't ask questions, that's not
yeah.
great.
Like he says here, his Sunday school teacher was like, "Stop asking questions." But great, like the smartest people, literally Thomas Edison, who made the light bulb.
He got kicked out of school.
That's
'cause he
kind of
asked questions.
controversial, but his teacher was like, "Bro, shut up!" I want to teach, and he would just keep asking questions. And you hear that from smart people a lot: is just never stop asking questions. The same thing with Albert Einstein, and so he went homeschooled. So for all you public skids, Thomas Edison was homeschooled, and he's. I'm not gonna go anywhere
is
with
your
that.
mommy a better teacher?
Yeah, same thing in our faith. We always have to question things and then find out the answer
Never-
because
never stop
that'll
asking, yeah.
grow your faith and your boldness for Christ.
And if people get annoyed with your questions, then they're not a great
maybe
teacher.
you're not in the right. Maybe you're not in the right church.
Yeah.
You know.
And then just real quick on when he was talking about the food being multiplied. This is
It's a
God you're
miracle,
talking about.
Elon.
It's called a miracle, yeah, and he created bread and earth and the substance made out of it, so he can easily multiply it if he wants to.
He's using
Command C,
command
Command V. Yeah. He's copy and pasting over here. No, but like Jesus says we can have the same power as he did. So we could technically do this. that's a goal. You know,
If we were perfectly sinless, you know.
If you have enough faith.
if we have the Holy
Yeah,
Spirit in
but
us, we
you-
can do
If
it.
you have enough faith, you can move mountains.
So, I think that's all the questions Elon had. Let me just
Are
make
you
sure.
telling me?
Story time with
But
Elon
like
Musk.
you it's like you're definitely you're the savior. You just you kept the party going with lots of wine. That's great. So
Why are they just quiet?
This is the answering moment.
Well, thank you. We
right.
appreciate
No!
you coming here and talking to us very much.
That was the
Pleasure
moment!
to meet you in person, and we'll.
There's so much awkward silence for the opportunity.
Yeah, he could have just said something. Although you're sitting next to
Yeah.
the world's richest dude,
Yeah.
so you might be
Not just the world's richest, but like one of the most
like
insane people on the earth. Yeah.
It's like, oh, you guys are having problems with your cars? Let me make some electric ones. You guys want flamethrowers? Here you go.
Want to go to Mars?
Yeah, this
Alright.
dude is literally, he's crazy.
All right, Q&A time. I think we only have time for one question here, so we'll just pick one. Zuba Gaming.
Zuba Gaming!
If someone wants something from you, do you have to give it to them, even if it's really important to you?
No.
I really like this question. Short answer, no. But
I wonder where.
More behind the question.
I don't know where he's getting this question from. Maybe it's the story in the Bible where God's like, if you have a robe, give it to someone else.
I feel like there is like a story where he says this. I just can't think of it off the top of my head.
yeah.
But pretty much, I think what the Bible usually talks about is if you have what you need, don't just hoard everything for yourself. Be generous and give it to help other people. But if someone comes up to you and is like, "Hey, can I have your car?" You don't have to give it to them. That's not being a good steward of what God gave you.
Yeah, that's just being used.
Yeah. Proverbs 11:28. One person gives freely yet gains even more. Another withholds unduly but comes to poverty. Proverbs 11:25. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. 2 Corinthians 9:8. You can go read those another time. But that pretty much answers that question. So a really simple question for today. But we have a lot more for next episode, including is it okay to be a model? Can you lose your salvation?
Be taken
Yeah.
away,
And a lot of good questions. So
Yeah,
stay tuned for next episode.
But I just want to add onto Zuba Gaming like the answer. So think like if someone asks you for something, think about whether you need it or not. I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
what I would
mean,
do.
you don't technically need your car, but that doesn't mean you.
You
just
kind of do
Well,
that sometimes.
Like
Yeah, well,
what do you have surplus of, you know?
Yeah.
Like
someone asks you for a piece
Excess.
of gum, you don't have to give it to them, but you can.
well,
It's
I
just-
would
I would, yeah. It's
because
it's
I'm
being
better
nice.
than you.
Would you, Jonah? Would you really give me a piece of gum?
Not you.
Exactly.
All right, guys. With that, thank you so much for watching, listening. Elon, if you're listening, come on the
love you.
podcast someday. We'd love to have you, and we'll actually answer your questions and not just sit there in utter silence.
Yeah, Babylonian bee fool.
We love you guys too, but congrats for having Elon on. That was awesome.
Yep.
And we'll talk to you guys in the next episode.
Happy New Year, by the way.
Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is my friend. Jesus is a friend of mine. I have a friend in Jesus. Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is my friend. Jesus